morning, and today I'm going to talk about effective parenting. I'm Dr. Ramakrishna, an education consultant. We all are aware that parenting is an art, and one should have the erudition and astuteness and non-judgmental nature and ingenuity to handle this well. Parenting is not that easy. It is not everybody's cup of tea. We are going to learn today a few aspects, of course, that make effective parenting. The bottom line is you should never turn your eyes red. You can be firm, but there is absolutely no need for you to be strict with children. And the first and foremost point is that you should periodically take your children to the medical doctor, and he can be a family doctor, and for a health checkup done. And you must take remedial action. Sometimes in classrooms, many students, they can't see the board, they can't hear, they may have any other problem, of course, which can be a hindrance for their studies, and therefore going for a medical checkup occasionally will help them to focus on studies. The next one is, in case there are some learning disabilities which are found, we must seek the help of an expert. It can be ADHD, it can be autism, it can be dyslexia, it can be dysgraphia, it can be dyscalculia, it can be subnormal intelligence. And see, sometimes it's simple attention drawing syndrome, whatever it is. Like, there are many learning disabilities associated with children, and therefore it is essential for the parent to seek the expert's help to ascertain the fact that there are no learning disabilities. And parents should work along with the school teachers in tandem, and parents also can seek some support of the teachers, and teachers observe something, and both can discuss and find out if there are any remedial actions that are needed, of course. And appropriate reading content the parents should provide to the students. It can be textbooks, it can be material, it can be notebooks, or it can be any other material downloaded from the net. It is a parent's responsibility to provide that appropriate content, and then of course the students can excel instead of they themselves finding out here and there, filter it and extract what they want. What best perhaps can be done is that parents can interfere and help to procure the material part, and parents also can give to them some audio and video files for learning good local language and also English, because these audio files and these video files will help the children hone the language skills, for maybe for listening, maybe for reading, or whatever it is like. So parents responsibility is to provide such material which can enhance their language learning skills. And the one of the finest things, like what parents can do is, parents can provide simple science equipment to the children. They can develop a kit initially. It can be magnets, it can be a vernier calipers, it can be a few lens mirrors, and it can be fractional weight box, whatever it is. Like, it's parents responsibility to think of providing some basic science equipment which can probably create interest in the child to learn science, in a very practical method. And a child can have a small laboratory at home so that he can do the experiments and understand the things with conceptual clarity. And parents can provide some charts to them, parents can provide some, even some chemical reagents and all that, which are not harmful, parents can provide. And parents should provide vocabulary building cards, because these days knowing more words is all the time advantageous. And my contention here is that some cards are available in the market where you have a small story, and such cards should be purchased by the parents and should be made available to the children, so that you are developing the reading habits in the students. No matter whether the school supports this or not, parents can individually help the children to procure these cards, and students can use it and develop their reading habits. Then see, parents should help the child get some interest in mathematics, because mathematics and English language, if the child is comfortable, he or she is going to rule the world. And therefore, it is essential for the parent to see that the foundation given to the children is appropriate. Mathematics children, they get aversion sometimes, they get boredom. So that should be avoided at an young age, and make sure that they have got that inherent interest in them, so that they can do mathematics so well, because in language that this knowledge of mathematics is going to influence several other subjects. And it is possible for the parents sometimes to enroll them for the online assessments. Okay, so they can check independently. So like to check, of course, whether the performance in the school and at home, of course, they're in consonance with each other. And therefore, parents can enroll the students for online assessments. Okay, so that they can just check whether it's really happening or not. It's parents' responsibility to take the children to some historical places of historical importance, industrial importance, where there are some science laboratories, science centers. So parents occasionally, when they find some time, instead of taking the children only for entertainment, a part of that time can be earmarked for learning purpose. So I repeat, it can be places of historical importance, it can be places of industrial importance, it can be science laboratories available, and any such things, of course, even industries, they can be taken. So then parents can go and seek some help in the schools for enrolling the students for one game or one sport, whatever it is children should play. Essentially, they should play at least for 1 hour. So parents can go to schools and enroll the students for any like a games activity and a sports activity. And physical activity can make sure that the students are healthy. Okay, a sound mind is there all the time, it's in the sound body. So physical health is very, very essential. When the pair when some project work is given to the students, parents have to encourage it. They should not say it's a waste of time and all that. And that is the very, very important one. And the parents should encourage their students to participate in school clubs. In school also there are several clubs: English club, like science club, photography club, journalism club, and like school calendar club. See, there are several clubs, of course, and parents should encourage the children like to participate in that. And also parents can think of asking their children to develop a hobby. It can be stamp collection, coin collection, it can be photography, it can be a bit of writing articles to the newspapers and all that. Parents must encourage. In case you find the spark in the child, it is your responsibility to encourage that one. Next one is, parents also can help the children enroll in some kind of like art, physical art or performing visual art or a performing art. It can be music, it can be vocal or instrumental, it can be drawing. So any such art activity, of course, it is an education for the heart. So parents should think of enrolling their children in some of these activities, so that they can relax when they participate in such activities and all that. And these days, of course, for all the students, etiquette training is important. How to conduct yourself in a society, how to move with other people and all that. So etiquette training by an expert, if it is available anywhere, parents must provide a chance, because the refined behavior of a child is every time appreciated in the society. Therefore, for a good conduct, it is essential for the child to have good etiquette. Parents can provide this etiquette training. And you parents have to ensure that there is some provision in the schools to develop the life skills. Life skills means thinking skills, emotional skills, and social skills. And the parents should check with the school if they have a provision for that, to develop these life skills. Because education these days, without life skills doesn't make any sense. And therefore, it is imperative at this point of time, parents should go and check, of course, if the school has provision. Otherwise, of course, it is their responsibility to find some alternative for that. And parents should watch very carefully the attitude of the children towards the friends, towards the family, how he is behaving, how he is talking, and is the other people are comfortable with his behavior and all that. He can't have like a inappropriate attitude and all that. And what is his attitude towards the money, towards spending the money? And that's the most important one, actually. So But remember one thing, you have to respect the child. You can't be strict, but you can be firm. You can get your work done by talking to him softly. Absolutely no reason for you to shout, to be rude, or you using harsh words and all that. Please avoid. Okay, never get angry. Be kind to them, and don't speak to them in English. This is a very important one. If you are not good at speaking English, many times I've seen the language they are learning is not up to the mark because the parents they tend to speak though they do not know, and therefore give him an opportunity of listening to some audio files, podcasts, so that they learn from a right source. When you feel that you are not competent to speak in English with correct pronunciation, accent, and correct grammatical sentence structures and all, and it is always good, of course, to leave them and let them learn from some other source. So, but the discipline you are trying to instill in the students, it should be all the time. It's positive discipline. It's a gentle discipline, of course. Okay, and it should be very, very natural discipline. And this should be, like instilled in the students. We don't want any kind of strict implementation of rule books and all that. Like that doesn't work with children. If you're too harsh, they find a let out elsewhere. The language outside, of course, can be really horrible. Of course, it can be awful language, foul language. If parents are too strict at home, okay, there must be a let out. Then the syntactic freedom, that what you are giving to the children, of course, that must be monitored. I all the time advocate that there's a lot of freedom required for the children, but at the same time, of course, that freedom what you have given and should be monitored. And we say amor propre. There is something called self-esteem, and this amor propre, whatever you have, of course, it should be bolstered up. So you must think of improving the self-esteem, the self-confidence. You can't just uh, cut it down and snub that and all that. Self-confidence is very, very essential. When he makes a mistake, you can point out that mistake. Some other time you can do it softly instead of shouting at them and trying to find fault every time and all that. No one is perfect. And therefore, it is essential for a parent, of course, to build that self-esteem. Now, any encouragement, I mean, any accomplishment you have in your child, you should encourage that one. You should encourage any accomplishment. It may be a just say consolation prize. It may be a fourth prize. It may be even participation, and that must be encouraged by the parents. And if it is an accomplishment, of course, you can be generous in your praise. And when children are developing their habits, of course, you should support them. And supporting when they are developing their habits is very, very important, because all the time they cannot have it a developed habit. It takes time for them. If it is any new habit, it should take its own time. And therefore, my point is give them some time to develop it as a habit. Okay, and initially they get used to it. It becomes a habit, it becomes an addiction. So addiction is, I'm not using it in the wrong sense of that. Even doing a lot of mathematics is can be an addiction. Learning something can be an addiction. And therefore my point is make sure that you give your support to them when they have to form their habits. Then there are sometimes the temper tantrums are there. Okay, children they want that, and this, we call them paroxysmal. Sometimes he behaves so insane, and he just wants it actually, no matter what. They don't listen to you, and these tantrums, of course, you should learn how to handle them. And when they turn so, you know, they just want it. Okay, and in such cases, of course, and adamant in doing that, of course, adamant in getting something, you should be able to handle it carefully. You cannot give what he demands every time. Sometimes you can stop them, let them understand that it's not all the time possible to get whatever he demands. And sometimes we see in children falsehood. Okay, this they tell lies. It should be reduced downright. Never encourage if they speak, say, a lie. And therefore any kind of falsehood of course you encounter with your students, it is downright you have to reduce that. And if there are any unreasonable demands from them, if they want to stick to their guns, if they say that I want that now, so you have to just acknowledge it, say that okay, I have noted, and I will give you when you need it. Actually, you can't ask me to get it now itself. So these unreasonable demands, you just have to acknowledge and leave it. Don't, it's not necessary for you to provide that then and there itself. You can wait. Okay, and if you keep on providing everything whatever they demand, and probably they think that of course they can get everything they want, because that will be very difficult when they grow up. And children, many times of course we watch that they have got innate talents, hidden talents. You should try to draw those talents. We may not know how exactly the intelligence is manifested, and therefore my point is innate talents whatever children have got, and you should be able to draw those talents. And whenever see they do something good, okay, they achieve something, accomplish something, you should be able to provide them some kind of reward. So these rewards are motivating, these rewards are encouraging, but you should have your own rewarding procedures. When I should reward, and what's the quantity of that reward, and in what form should it be given, and you just have to decide. But you have to have established norms for these rewarding procedures. And you should have, you can take them to a movie, or you can take them out, you can take them, give them some gift, whatever it is. You have to establish the procedures. Then keep on telling them about the values and attitudes. But mind you, it is more by an example than talking about those values and all. And therefore, you should display at all times, of course, good values, and tell them that you stand for those values and principles, and they also can emulate those values and become good, citizens in future. And when you watch them in a society, of course, when their behavioral patterns are not acceptable, of course, you should try to modify them. When you feel that their behavior in a social environment is not appropriate, and then what can be done is that you should try consciously to modify such behaviors. And I tell you, language is very, very important, and you have to provide them all that is required. It can be newspapers, it can be magazines, it can be periodical, it can be any audio files, and all such things. Of course, it can be even mythological stories, of course, with a good voiceover and music. You can provide them so that you are developing their language skills inadvertently, of course. And all the time, the parents, either the mother or the father, of course, should read some stories and keep them ready. We call them bedtime stories. These bedtime stories, they, like they give some kind of good sleep to them. And when they sleep, of course, they revise. Okay, before they go to bed, completely get sound sleep, they revise. And that is how we tell them good stories, so that there are some moral values instilled in them at an young age. And therefore, narrating a bedtime story to children is all the time, of course, it's an awesome experience. And you have to listen to them to understand, not to respond. Wait for some time, let them talk, let them talk. And see, much of the time, of course, their topic may not carry sense, but there is at least one or two points, of course, which are very sensible. You can't afford to miss them. And therefore, listen to them to understand, not to respond. And if there are any learning episodes, of course, you have to supplement them with deficiencies. If you feel that they're not able to understand a few topics in a particular subject, it is all the time good for you to take them to a right teacher and get them taught those one or two lessons once again. So if there are any learning abysses, it is all the time good for you to supplement them. And sometimes can give them an opportunity to take some decisions. So it is very important to build these decision making skills based on the parameters what they are given, based on the conditions prevailing there. Children should take some decisions. So gradually give them a little responsibility so that they can take decisions on their own. And it's good they own that responsibility. This is a decision taken by me, and therefore they start owning the responsibility when they grow up. And when you give instructions to the children, and this is a very important one, give instructions which are very clear. They should not be contradictory, they must be consistent, and there should not be any kind of ambiguity in that. So these are the things, of course, you should keep in mind. And it's not easy for anybody, of course, to offer a child everything he requires. So consciously you should keep on doing your own research and your own understanding, your own methods, and so that you can give the best to your child. Because most of us we think a lot about our children. We want to give them, ultimately we'll end up giving them the facilities rather than what is required to them. So effective parent is not about giving them a lot of facilities, make them comfortable giving money. It's not that. Effective parenting is completely different, and providing them like something to make them, of course, at the end of the day. And that is important. And thank you very much. And hope you have got a few points here to understand this one, to effective parenting. Thank you very much.